Hello, I'm Daniela. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I use materials that were intended for other purposes, but how I use them in my art studio. These are little things that I collect, whether they're bottle caps or used postage stamps, and I reuse them in my artwork, either as supplies or as a focal point in my work. So let me show you the items that I collect and save to use in my artwork. So I save the caps to bottles and lids for various purposes. Some are something as simple as just a little plasticky lid that I can use as a little disposable palette. So I'm really repurposing something from another task to use. Just either I'll pour glue in it and use it on my work, or some type of sealer, or even paints, depending on the project I'm working on. Sometimes I just need a little more paint to finish a project, and this is the perfect way to do it rather than having to clean a new palette. The larger ones are perfect for that. Smaller caps as well. I also like to use the really small ones where I can dab it in paint and print a perfect circle. No matter what size I have, they all trace a beautiful circle size, and they're all different, so they come in very handy. Now some are a little more sturdy than others, so there's lots more value in them. You can turn some into a pin cushion. I have a video I'll link for that. So there's lots of opportunities to reuse and repurpose something as simple and throwaway as the lid or cap to a bottle. Another thing I found on a mixed media site was to save some of the little junk envelopes. The inside of them have interesting patterns that can be reused in your work, either mixed media or art journaling. They're all so different and beautiful. They're done to prevent fraud because you can't really see through the envelope with that print on it. But depending on the colors that you use, you can cut them out with die cuts or just a pair of scissors or a knife, and you get beautiful shapes that you can use simply as a tag. It can become a mask or a stencil. You can emboss it as well to get different effects. And this is all just from an envelope that normally would have gone into the trash. I save them when I'm in the mood to do something, but I'm not really sure what. I just create these different little shapes and textures to use in my work. I find saving the business envelopes to be really helpful. Another thing that I love are labels, particularly textile or fabric labels. They're beautiful. You can add them to your work, whether you make a quilt or just a little project. You can get all different types that you can purchase, and they're very fun. You can even find some little snarky ones. You better use this, or this took forever. And there are really cute ones too that can be charms or buttons that'll say something like handmade or made with love, something to that effect. But I like to save labels from clothing. So if I'm getting rid of some clothing, or if I pick up some clothing at a thrift store to use in my work, I'll save the labels. I just love the text. Sometimes they have a very interesting logo on them, like this lion is beautiful. Over here, just the wings. I can use this by replacing it or just using it as it is. I clipped out this one, and I got a little ribbon I can use as well. So I just find these things really, really helpful. And I just save them right in a little jar, little jelly jar. And so I have an assortment of labels to use in my work. It's just additional textiles. Another thing I like to save are mascara wands. The mascara wands are all different usually. We buy different brands and different models of mascara. But the wands are so unique that they make excellent marks if you dip in paint or ink and swipe on your work for abstract work and collage. It's just a wonderful little thing to add to your supply stash instead of buying additional brushes. You can also use some floss wands. These come in a pack of 50 or 100, so I just grab a few before they're used, and I'll just set aside some to use in my work. And these are very small, and these are great for making really finite marks. It saves me from buying different brushes. Another thing I like to save is I clip off little stamps from cards when they come in the mail, and junk mail as well, because it doesn't have to be an actual stamp. Some of the stamps that I find actually are just magazine cutouts, but they're pictures of stamps in my work. They look like stamps, so it's a perfect thing to use. I'll just set them aside in this little tin here. And again, they can be fake or real. And I have some stamps to use in my mixed media work and my slow stitching. Now I'm a sorter, so I have some sorted by theme as well. I have some Christmas stamps and some United States stamps, particularly the patriotic ones. So I keep these in separate tins, and I can just add to them as I collect them. And this makes it really valuable when I'm using them in my work, just to find them. When the big box, I can find stamps by color or size, and then by theme. Now, similar to stamps, I collect little paper fortunes when we get takeout, and then little tea notes. Now, some are cuter than others. Some have little sayings, inspirational. Some are just the tea. We drink a lot of tea, but I find it very interesting. This has a little bit of a tea stain, and I can use that shape as either the basis of a tag, or I can use it in my work. And so I find something like this, just saving something that would otherwise be thrown away, to use in my work. Now, I don't use it all the time, but when I do, it's a very unusual and unexpected element in my work. So those are items that have different purposes that I use in my art studio. I find them really helpful. They're easy, they're cheap to save, and they really add a different element to my work. What are some items that you save that might not be standard material or standard issue for any art studio? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. Also, please join me on Patreon, where I teach art classes, different watercolor, acrylic, bookmaking, and journaling. Thanks for joining me today.